Hi, it's Mark Rushton of markrushton.com. It is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. I'm smack dab in the middle of the staycation. Boy, time flies when you're having fun, right? This video is called Advancements versus Gifts of Necessity, and I'll get to that here in just a little bit here. But I've been making playlists every single day as far as my daily playlist challenge, and got some music scheduled for release down the road. I think it's the end of July, a couple of tracks. In fact, I finished a track yesterday involving, it's going to be a new ambient matic track. Includes John on processed trumpet, and it's really fantastic. And it just came together so quickly for me using some material that we'd recorded in the past. And John loved it too. And that's great. It's good. That's the fun thing about making this sort of stuff is having everything kind of building things together over time. And realizing when you've made that, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool. This is kind of fun. So that's just a little monologue there on today's video. But today's video is mainly about advancements versus gifts of necessity. What are those? Well, advancements in the recording artist world are, if you signed a contract with a record company or you signed a deal with a publishing company, typically, not always, but most of the time, the label or the publishing company will give a recording artist or a songwriter an advance on future royalties, and depending on the deal and everything like that. And these are essentially loans that have to be paid back. For example, like we think your album is great, and we're going to dump all this money into this. We're going to send you in to record it with a producer, make videos, and so we have expenses there, but we'll pay for it out of your future royalties, right? And that's a careful thing. That's a troubling thing that a lot of artists and even very successful people have had problems with later on due to creative accounting and other things like that. So that's sort of the advancement side of it. But I understand the point of it. A company, a record company, a record label is going to invest money in an artist, and at least they want to have some guarantee later on with their efforts that they will get repaid for that. It's perfectly understandable. Now, everything else that they do with regard to the contract, the creative accounting, the $500,000 videos, the limousines with the vintage champagne and all that sort of stuff. Well, you got to be careful on that. So, and again, with songwriters, publishing deal, the songwriting publishing money doesn't come in for, it can be 2, 3, or 4 years, possibly even longer before a lot of that money arrives. And, you got to eat. You got to eat. So, if you get a publishing deal, you can get a little bit of money ahead of time there to live on, or to, buy that Bosendorfer and put it in your apartment and make your new Brill building tracks or something like that. I don't know. So that's advancements. Those advancements are essentially loans that have to be paid back, by and large, as far as the recording industry is concerned. Well, there's this other term that I've encountered recently, and let me, red cup here. Let me talk a little bit about that. It's a term I've never really heard of before, and it's called gifts of necessity. And I was looking around for legal terms with regard to it, and I couldn't find anything. I was like, what are gifts of necessity? And so there were a few little things here and there, sprinkled here and there, with regard to what somebody thought gifts of necessity are. And I sort of interpreted that term as, somebody giving, you're like, oh, I need $20 for gas money. Or, I'm hungry. Can you buy me a meal or some groceries? Or I need $250 to keep the land. Like, I'm a little behind on my rent. $250 so the landlord doesn't kick me out. Like temporary things like that. Temporary. And by temporary, I mean one-offs. Right? It's Every now and then, a little, can you spot me? Right? And you're not going to get the money back, or maybe you might get something back later on, but most likely you're not. That would be a gift of necessity. Or, I'll give you this old junky car that I was just going to, it needs some work, but maybe it'll run for you for a few more months. I'll buy you a tank of gas. Things like that. That's a gift of that's what I would interpret as a gift of necessity. Now, what is not a gift of necessity? What is not what I would consider a gift of necessity? Well, it would be something like the kind of gift that would be above the IRS annual exclusion limit, which in 2021 is $15,000. And in years past was much less. I think it's been sort of indexed to inflation. So if you're giving financial support one way or another to somebody else, and you're either not 1099ing them, they're not a contract employee, or you're not filing IRS Form 709 with regard to giving a gift tax and having to pay that particular tax on that gift to that individual, or working it out with the other person so the other person pays the tax on that. That's a little more rare, I do believe. That is not a gift of necessity. If I give you a credit card, and you charge, I don't know, a couple $1,000s a month on that, $1,500, $2,000 a month, that's going to end up being above the IRS annual exclusion limit, where you don't have to declare that to the IRS. And in that sort of case, that is not a gift of necessity. That is something else. And that you're getting into legal areas I don't know anything about. But yeah, gift of necessity, say for like a recording artist, perhaps under contract, you end up talking to the guy at your label or something like that, and like, hey man, can you buy me a drink, or buy me a meal, or somebody says to you, I'm take you out for dinner, right? Let's go out to lunch. I'll pay, right? Like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm a starving artist. That sort of thing. This also works on the fine art side too, as well. People artists, painters, and sculptors who contract through galleries. Typically, if you sell a work, there's usually a certain period of time that the gallery holds on to that money, just in case the customer wants to return it or there's some sort of issue there. And sometimes money is advanced to the artist. Most of the time, it is not. That's usually not necessarily a good thing. You abide by the contract, live by whatever the rules are with regard to that contract, with regard to the payment process. Otherwise, you're guaranteed to get into trouble there, right? But as far as a recording artist is concerned, and that's what I have more experience with, not necessarily being a signed artist per se to a label or anything like that, but just reading what I've read about the industry over the years. So, it's like something like, buy you a drink, fill your tank up with gas, little minor, just gifts of necessity. As far as art, and that's, you really got to be, it straddles the line there, because, some people can be a bit parasitic. They can be parasites about that sort of thing. That your goodwill, being a nice person, helping somebody out. You don't want that to turn, into a hammock for them, where you're just, the record company, like, say they've contracted an artist and they've got all sorts of problems and they just continue to have problems, and that doesn't necessarily generate any income. Well, at some point in time, that, you need to go to rehab, right? Like, who's going to pay for that? Maybe the record label, you agree to have the record label pay for that. That's not a gift of necessity that maybe, contractually that may be in there with regard to against future royalty. It's like a loan. It's like a loan. It's like getting a student loan. I don't want to pay my student loan back. Why would I do a thing like that? I can't afford that. I took out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans and I don't want to pay them back. It's not fair. What? Okay, as an artist, what should you do? Whether you're an independent artist or just anybody in general that may fall into this sort of a situation, write everything down. Write everything down. Write everything down. Audio record it, right? If possible. If you're in a one-party consent state with regard to recording, and most states are, not all states are. And also, if you're talking with somebody from the state of California, California is a two-party consent state. So even if I'm in Iowa, Iowa's a one-party consent state, you're talking to somebody in California, you would need their consent to record. There is a lot of legal precedent with regard to that. But anyway, write everything down. So, if so-and-so says, I'm buying you a tank of gas, or I'll take you out for lunch, I'm paying. And that way you have that written down to some extent. And so if you see it later in your accounting, so-and-so charged me for that dinner that he said was, I'm paying for this, right? So that might be helpful. You save all your statements, save all your royalty statements, save all your expenses. Like I said, I have a CPA. I fill out what's essentially a Schedule C with regard to expenses. And so I have this on a yearly basis. And of course, you want to save at least 7 years of your tax returns and all your records and things like that. Save everything. Get a system. You know what I do? Here's what I do. I get these little folder books here. You can buy these at, you get them at Walmart for, I don't know what they are, $10 or something like that. And then you got these it's like an accordion folder, plastic little accordion in here. And this has got, I'm not going to show you the front because I've got IRS payment statements for, September 15, 2021. You don't really want to know the amount, and checks and things like that. And of course, anything related to that. That's a good way to just stay organized for me. The other way is using Microsoft OneNote, which I've been a big fan of for many, many years. And I've got tabs across the top and pages across the side for many different things. I'm able to bring in scan documents. I'm able to add daily notes. I'm able to have... I have it my own idiosyncratic way as far as everything is concerned. But if I need to find something, I can go to a particular month or a particular year or a particular topic, or I can go into the search and search for and I can find it. It's really pretty neat. And of course, it's a cloud-based, so you have the backup. And, if I'm not on it here at home, if I'm on my phone, I could sign in there and I could attempt to find things. But I love Microsoft. It's a quirky, huge, weird program. But I don't know how many times over the years it has really not saved me, but it's been extremely helpful. So Microsoft OneNote. There's a lot of other different note-taking apps out there. I mean, I have one on my phone that's just like a simple, what's this called here? I'm an Android person. Oh, it's Fast Note. Fast Note. So it's like, various things that, go to the grocery store. I don't have time to write it down on a little index card, which I'm a big fan of that too. But sometimes, there you go. The other thing is inventory. The inventory, like if you're contracted to somebody for something, you need to have kind of an inventory too of everything that you got or everything that they got you. Again, that goes back to writing everything down, but having an inventory, particularly if you're, like the record company is buying something for you as it relates to your royalties. again, that would be part of the inventory, and that would be something that I would add to the Microsoft OneNote page. So there you go. That's largely sort of my rambling there about advancements versus gifts of necessity. Advancements are sort of, contractual obligations, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but that's my understanding of it. Whereas a gift of necessity, that's, I'll buy you dinner. I'll fill your tank up with gas once, maybe in a few months, maybe. You need a little bit of money to help out on the rent? No problem. A little gift here and there. Nothing wrong with a little bit of charity, right? But if it comes to the point where I've given you a credit card and you're going out and spending $35 at Starbucks, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, then that's not a gift of necessity. That is something else entirely. And depending on the amount of money that is involved there, it could be an issue with regard to the IRS annual exclusion. So be careful. Be careful out there. Wasn't that what the lieutenant on Hill Street Blues used to say after the meeting? Be careful out there. All right, I'm Mark Rushton of markrushton.com. It is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. I got a lot of stuff to do today, and we'll talk to you later.